for murder, even if it's decades later in this country, according to our constitution. So I find it very ignorant of my panelists to be telling us that simply because somebody's son was abducted when he was in government and he kept quiet, now that he's outside, he should not be reminding us about it. It was still a crime. It is still a crime. And that is why when some of us get into power, we will backtrack every crime that happened when we were not there. Even if tomorrow I become a women rep in Nyandarua County and I feel that the first person I want to call into accountability is Kindiki, who was the CS when Gen Z's abductions were happening and the Gen Z mandamano happened and people were killed, I have a right to do so as a Kenyan because the law allows for him to be called into accountability as long as the crime is serious crime like murder and war crimes, you know. And also in terms of the petty crimes like theft and fraud, they also have a time limit. They have time limits of years, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, some even to 7. So in terms of timings, we can never at any time say that some murder or some killings we need to move over them because time has passed. No, even if it is 20 years down the line and I want to stand up in Nyandarua County and raise the concern of JM karaoke, I am allowed because the crime was still a crime even back then. The only thing I'm not allowed is to wake up today and find that in 2030 it's a crime for somebody to wear a red trouser, then I go look for a photo of Trevor in a red trouser in 2000 and say that now this is a crime. No, as long as it's not a retroacted crime, that's in order. And again, on the issue of people having Damascus moment, there are people who have been in opposition and they have decided to join government. My panelist does not have a problem with that. Baba has been all along talking about the ills of this government. Now ODM is part of government. They don't have a problem with that. He does not even have a problem with Makau Mutua, who joined government, who took a job yesterday. But he has a problem when Gachagua, when AG leaves government and they say that when I was in government, this and this was happening, you know. We've seen the former SG for UDA tell us that some illegalities in terms of payroll happen in UDA. He was the SG there. If at all the crime is investigated and he was part and parcel, he will also be accountable. But he has raised a concern. Should we now tell him to keep quiet and the thing continues? Or should we investigate the issue and address the issue at itself? We cannot bring an issue of timing. And I want to tell my colleagues that on the issue of Rigathi Gachagua pleading his case in national television, I mean, we cannot allow, even me as an individual, for somebody to accuse me of something and I don't give the account that I feel is my side of the story. Defend yourself, he is allowed by the constitution. And anyway, that is a procedure that is laid down in our constitution. There was no way he could have been fired just like that, just to go home. You have been doing this and that. The procedure of him going to parliament allows him to wake up and defend himself, to have lawyers in place, you know. And one thing that I today want to tell Rigathi Gachagua, because I am sure he happens to watch Citizen TV, you did what any other Kenyan would have done. You prosecuted your case to the public as the members of parliament decided it to happen, because the impeachment of a deputy president is not just any impeachment. And for him to have been elected by the same votes that the president was elected with, he had his right to stand up and tell the people, now these are my crimes. Okay. And they are saying this is what I've done, but this is the true story of it. Some of these crimes were even family issues of inheritance. An inheritance that was on newspaper when it happened. So he had his rights to do that. And we cannot tell the country that, oh, he was pleading not to leave government. He was not pleading not to leave government. He was pleading for his case to be heard and justly be condemned about it. All right. Then again, on the issue that we talk about BBC bringing out the issue of those who were killed, but not those who destroyed property. In that BBC disclaimer, in fact, BBC is like the international media, you know, and it is very unfortunate that even we saw government trying to say that it should not be played where and where. First of all, that BBC documentary had a disclaimer where they said, for the sake of the safety. You know how shameful it is for a nation that international media is telling the world that for the sake of the safety of their cameramen, for the sake of the safety of their editors, they cannot even credit them. And then you want us to, that we now need to hold BBC accountable for them to show us who destroyed life. Where was the government at that time? it should have also been there. If you feel your side of the story has not been aired, go do investigations. The videos are still there. CCTV footage from Parliament is still there. Bring it to us. Then you tell us this is the person who stole, but we killed the other person. Then now we can have that discussion about BBC being biased. And again, BBC does not operate from Wamunyoro, because now at the end of the day, the conversation is going to be, oh, opposition is the one that is instigating BBC. No, we have to be very honest. BBC did a documentary, and in that BBC documentary, they said they asked the government to give their side of the story, and government went mute.
True.
Finally, as I complete, I want to talk about the opposition gap. We are not going to allow government to dictate to us who should be in opposition and who should be supporting government. Tomorrow, if I want to join government, it is my right. Tomorrow, if somebody wants to leave government and come to opposition and call it out, it is their right, because everybody has their position in this country where they want to stand. And I have to tell Mundalo here that by the virtue of Jubilee is now split into two, I'm inviting him to join our Wamunyoro party that is being launched next month. That way he can have one party that he can stick to, because the fraction of Jubilee of Kioni and Kanini Kega is still not well understood. So I'm inviting him to come on board next month as we launch our party. And then he can see a Damascus moment also. And then we will give him a chance again on this platform to explain his Damascus moment.
Closing remarks, let me just say that one, there is something that Njeri raised about the tax and UDA. In that view, in my view, the Secretary General, who is Malala, is guilty. He's actually committed a crime, because the Secretary General of a party is the only one who sits in both the NEC and the Secretariat. So he's just telling us what he actually did not do. He's telling us of illegalities he did. Number two, there was no place where Rigathi Gachagua was defending himself. When Rigathi came on TV, he was pleading to be in government. When the time came for him to defend himself, he fell ill. So there was no defense of Rigathi Gachagua. Then just to finish it, I'm accused of having doublespeak when I say those ones who are in government should not be able, and then we have Raila who has actually joined government. The two things are not the same. You should be able to remember that Raila Odinga and even us in Jubilee simply agreed with the will of the people, which is democratic. When the people elect a government and give you that they have preferred this one over you, you don't insist that they are not a government. So you only provide a conducive environment for them to be able to work. And that is what they actually did. And as I'm being accused of Jubilee having two sides, Jubilee has no two sides. We are the only parliamentary political party in Kenya today. So we are the only party that is neither in Azimio nor in Kenya Kwanza. We are a single parliamentary political party. And that's why Sabina Chege is the whip of Jubilee party.
Let us leave it.